Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. We will go ahead and get started in just a moment. I think we're going to let some folks in from the waiting room, but thank you so much for joining us. We'll go ahead and get started. I'll start introducing myself. So, hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're calling in from. It's great to see so many faces on this call. My name is Erin Eastwood. I'm the program director for the National Ocean Protection Coalition. I am joining you today from Santa Barbara, California, which is the traditional, ancestral, and contemporary lands of the Chumash peoples. So I invite everybody here to take a moment to introduce yourselves in the chat and do your own acknowledging and honoring of Indigenous peoples wherever you work and live or are calling in from today. So again, feel free to drop in the chat your name, affiliation, and acknowledgement where you're calling in from today. And I'll just make a quick note, it's important to note that this practice of honoring and acknowledging is not a new practice developed by colonial institutions, but rather a traditional practice of many Indigenous peoples as a sign of respect and honoring. So for us as settlers, acknowledging Indigenous peoples really reminds us of the history of colonialism and calls us in to disrupt and dismantle colonialism and other systems of oppression that harm people, land, waters, oceans that are still really present here today. So thank you, everyone, for dropping your introductions and acknowledgements in the chat. I see some good intros happening. So I am thrilled to introduce this amazing webinar today, and I do plan to pass it over to Sean at EarthEcho International very briefly or very shortly. But for those who are not familiar with us, just wanted to share a quick introduction to the National Ocean Protection Coalition. We are a coalition of more than 50 organizations committed to creating and enhancing effective and equitable U.S. marine protected areas. Our coalition is people-powered. We are partner-powered. Our mission is really centered around this idea that we are all stronger together. And one of the key things that our coalition really recognizes is that youth leadership and youth voices in particular are critical to advancing sort of, meaningful ocean protection and really building the momentum necessary to achieve the goal of protecting 30% of US waters by 2030. So that's why this webinar is incredibly exciting for me to introduce. When EarthEcho and when Sean and their team brought this idea to us, we just really thought it was a perfect example of how partnerships and making connections and intersections and really working together to leverage collective strengths can make a huge difference for our ocean. So, I'll pass it over to Sean in a moment, but we at NOPC were just so inspired by what these youth fellows have accomplished, what you all here on this call have accomplished. So thank you for joining us. And I'm thrilled to hear and listen and learn from you all today. So with that, I will pass it over to you, Sean, the EarthEcho International Associate Director of Youth Engagement and Partnerships. Thank you so much.
Great. Thanks so much, Erin. And thanks, Erin and Amy and the whole NOPC team I see on here as well. We're so grateful to be here with you all today, grateful for the support and excited to, as Erin said, really celebrate, champion, and amplify the incredible work of the young leaders who've been part of this year's OceanEcho 30 by 30 Fellowship Program. So for just a little bit of context, as Erin mentioned, I'm going to set the stage for the conversation today with just a bit of background on the program, our work at EarthEcho International, what brought us to launch this initiative with NOPC this year. And then I'm going to turn it over to our incredible fellows who are joining us both live and a few pre-recorded messages as well from really all the time zones in the US, I think, at this point, to share their stories, share their impact and lessons learned from this experience working to advance community-led marine protected areas. And then finally, we'll make sure there's time for all of you to ask questions, to dive into a discussion, and we'll end with a few action items and opportunities to continue to engage with us as we grow and scale this work together. But just to get things kicked off for a little bit of background and context, for those who might not know us, EarthEcho International is a nonprofit organization that was founded about 17 years ago by Philippe and Alexandra Cousteau. And our mission is really focused on building a global youth movement to protect and restore our ocean planet. Our programs work to build the capacity of young ocean advocates directly, as well as provide tools and resources to the adult mentors and educators that support young ocean leaders around the world. Now, central to that mission and our work and programs at EarthEcho is our EarthEcho Youth Leadership Council. This is a group of 25 high school and college age students from around the world that keep us true to our mission. Our goal is to help guide and advise our core education programs and also lead campaigns really from start to finish to mobilize their peers to take ocean conservation action around the world. And one of those initiatives is really what brought us to the NOPC Coalition and to this work on marine protected areas almost 3 years ago now. And that is a campaign they launched called OceanEcho 30 by 30. And this effort's been really focused, as Aaron said, on the power of youth leaders mobilizing support, building community support for the goal of protecting 30% of the ocean by 2030 and advancing marine protected areas both in the US and around the world. And through the techniques of kind of education, advocacy, and restoration work, this campaign's been really brought to life with the support of so many partners, many of those of you who are on the call today. We're so grateful for that support. Just at a high level, we've seen through this campaign, young people reach over 20,000 of their peers directly engaged through innovative outreach and education programs around the importance of ocean protections and marine protected areas. Through hands-on coastal restoration work in communities around the world, we've seen young leaders have a chance to engage their peers on really tangible hands-on projects that connect them back to the importance of taking action on ocean-based climate solutions. And then in particular, through our work with NOPC and many of the community partners here, we've been able to work to support young leaders engaging directly in the policy and advocacy work to advance MPAs both at the US and the international level. And this work is really what set the stage for our fellowship program that we're going to share and highlight today. This program, this year's OceanEcho 30 by 30 Fellowship, really builds on a first round of this program we ran in 2021, focused on international communities. And this year, with the support of NOPC, we've been able to bring this to life specifically for young leaders in the US working to advance on the ground community-led protected area efforts across the country. This year's fellowship was a paid virtual fellowship experience that united 6 young leaders from across the country. They had a chance to receive campaign planning training and support and guidance from our team at EarthEcho, as well as support and subject matter expertise and mentorship from a network of community partners working on the ground to advance these locally led protected area efforts. And all of this work really led to them leading incredibly innovative campaigns to build that community support and buy-in and momentum for marine protected areas and the 30 by 30 goal in the US. And I want to start by saying also just a quick kind of intro. You'll see all of our fellows joining us today in various ways, but we had Claudia Munoz Colon from Puerto Rico, Bronwyn Kay from Hawaii, Destiny Bristol-Cushion from Alaska, Kai Tran from California, Jude Latulamar from the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands, and Hasey San Jose from Guam. And as I mentioned, all of their work was also anchored and supported by an amazing network of local community partners. And so I want to give a big thank you and shout out to the Pacific Remote Islands Coalition, the Northern Chumash Tribal Council, Surfrider Foundation and Surfrider Puerto Rico, Friends of the Mariana Trench, and the Aleut community of St. Paul Island for helping to provide that local support and guidance to make this program possible. But with that, I'm so excited for you to hear from the real stars of the show, which are our class of fellows from this year. So I'm going to turn it over first to Bronwyn to share a little bit more about her work in Hawaii. So Bronwyn, take it away. I'll turn it over to you.
Here we go. Okay, can we hear me?
All good.
Okay, thank you. So my name is Bronwyn. I'm from Kauai in Hawaii, born and raised on Hawai'i Island, which I have a picture of on the next slide. I have a Bachelor of Science of Environmental Science from the University of Hawaii at Hilo. In the past, I've worked for sorry, my speaker notes are being hard to find. Just a little bit about me. When I went to high school, I led my school's nature club and organized events for beach cleanups, reforestation efforts, and invasive species remediation on the island. I've been involved with the nonprofit, the Nepali Coast Ohana, in surveying endangered endemic plants and conducting annual reef surveys at Nuala Lokai, which is the picture of my past work there. I was a tour guide for a boat company, and I would educate people on that ancient Hawaiian fishing village along the Nepali coast. Currently, I'm working with the state of Hawaii's Department of Land and Natural Resources, seabird and nene biologists. So in the middle picture, there's our albatross, and on the right is our nene birds that we are surveying and banding, taking measurements of the head there for protecting those endangered species. And future work, I have a internship with the EV Nautilus, the Ocean Exploration Trust's boat here up in the top right corner, and I will be an intern for their expedition to Johnston Atoll in the Pacific remote islands for the month of August. So my campaign was focused on the Pacific remote islands, and my partner was the Pacific Remote Islands Coalition. So my campaign plan was to educate local community members and students on the Pacific Remote Islands Marine National Monument and why its expansion is important. So on the bottom left, my island where I'm from is Kauai, and the Pacific Remote Islands are about 800 miles southwest of the Hawaiian Islands. And the picture on the right, you can see the proposed expansion area around Kingman Reef and Palmyra Atoll and Howland and Baker Islands. And those areas are at threat for deep sea mining, and they provide habitat to pelagic creatures with seamounts and some really different biodiversity. The islands just to the northwest of Hawaii are the Pacific Papahanaumokuakea, the northwestern Hawaiian Islands. Those are already a successful marine national monument, which a lot of people here know about, but not a lot of people know about the Pacific remote islands. So we can go to the next slide. My project took that directly into the local middle school that I went to here, and I created a mural design that incorporates the kind of scenery and biodiversity of the Pacific remote islands, and the students that were in the after school program completed the mural. So that's kind of it's kind of on an interesting piece of wall there where there's a lot of different angles. So in the middle, there's a seamount kind of with some of the birds, and then to the left and right, more underwater scene with more of the pelagic creatures. And on the front, there's the OceanEcho 30x30 hashtag and a QR code that links to the Pacific Remote Islands Coalition website, where they have this petition here that you can sign to contribute to the action and campaign plan. So if we go on the next slide, so some of the ways that this went out into the community was through our Garden Island newspaper. The photographer came and took pictures and made a nice article that was on the front page of the paper, and these are screenshots from the online newspaper outlet. But there were a lot of students involved in this because how their after school program works, it's basically 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, and there was about 10 to 15 different kids each day for a week. So there was a lot of involvement. And then at the end of it, they also have a morning announcements that the whole school watches and listens to. So there was a write-up of kind of about the mural itself and what the QR code stood for and where the Pacific Remote Islands are. So I gave that over to the morning announcements, and that kind of reached the rest of the school. Although this is on the cafeteria, so you can see it from the road when you drive by the school, and the students also see it every day when they go for lunch. So it was a great way to expand this youth leaders and get more knowledge of the Pacific Remote Islands out there. And a lot of these students had never heard of the Pacific remote islands, but they have some sort of connection because there's a lot of Marshallese students and they're fairly somewhat close to the Marshall Islands. So they could make that connection there. And that was helpful in understanding like where these islands were and why they were important, instead of just because they're right next door, like the Northwestern Hawaiian Islands.
Still looking for the mute button after 3 years. Thank you so much, Bronwyn, for that and for your incredible work and leadership, bringing this to life in the community and bringing this to life for so many students in the region and also amplifying that reach and impact as well. We're so grateful for it and excited about the impact that you've made here. Up next, I'm going to turn it over to Kai. Kai Tran is joining us via pre-record, but Kai, I also know you're on. I'm going to hit the video, but if you want to jump in and say anything first, please do. I know you're in transit right now as well, but we can also pull you in for Q&A. But I'll pull up that.
Yeah, I don't know. Can you all hear me?
We can. Yeah, Kai, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'd still prefer if the recording play. I'm kind of in a public setting. It's a little hectic here. And my camera, as you can see, is going haywire. But I'm definitely open to taking any questions or comments either during or after the video recording.
Awesome. Thanks, Kai. We'll go ahead and cue this up and let you take it away here.
Thank you so much. Hello, everybody. My name is Kai Tran. I wanted to firstly apologize for not being here to present. I had some extenuating circumstances with travel that just doesn't really allow me to be present and present this to you all. But I'm going to present on my 30/30 fellowship here in the California Central Coast. My name is Kai Tran, as I said before. I'm a 22-year-old undergraduate university student at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. And I'm currently studying environmental management protection with minors in political science and law and society. My past experience has involved climate advocacy and sustainability movements, like the photo in the top right corner here. You see I was formerly a part of the Sunrise Movement locally in the Central Coast of California. I hail from the West Coast, so I've always had an affinity for our ocean and natural environment and making sure that we protect it as we progress into climate change. And that's kind of what motivated me to join OceanEcho in this 30x30 fellowship. So my fellowship involved working on a campaign for the Chumash Heritage National Marine Sanctuary. This sanctuary is commonly abbreviated as CHNMS. So if I have that on my other slides, just want to make that clear in case y'all get confused. This is a currently proposed sanctuary, but has made some major headway in the NOAA designation process. It would protect 7,000 square miles of oceanic environment and ban harmful practices like offshore drilling, particularly oil drilling, which does exist in the Central Coast, especially off of Santa Barbara and down in Ventura County to Los Angeles. Toxic waste dumping, which has also been a major issue in Southern California, particularly relating to DDT dumping around Huntington Beach, and seismic testing, which can be pretty disruptive to aquatic sea life and can actually injure or kill them. It would also introduce tribal co-management, which is a pretty novel concept, which would integrate indigenous stewardship in the overview or in the maintenance and management of this sanctuary. This is something that's never been done before for marine sanctuaries, but could really help extend the involvement in indigenous practice in environmental sustainability and stewardship, which has not been something that's really happened in the past years, but has become more popular for good reasons. The local partner that I worked with was the Northern Chumash Tribal Council. They are the local tribal group that nominated the Chumash Heritage National Marine Sanctuary, and they were actually the first tribal organization to do so. They've been spearheading the public outreach to local community members and have been very successful in doing so. They've essentially taken on the singular role in pushing forth this sanctuary, and like I said, the sanctuary has come pretty far along in the designation process, so the NCTC has been very successful in doing so. They've mostly done outreach events and have attended farmers markets and other areas where mostly local community members reside, which leads to my campaign. Because the Northern Streammass Tribal Council have mostly been attending these sort of public events, they haven't really been able to tap into the local student population and youth from a broad perspective. As a result, in my consultation with the Northern Streammass Tribal Council, we set out a campaign goal to reach out and educate college-aged local youth and students. From that, I developed a campaign plan, which involves creating student-tailored presentations with Q&A to a number of different student groups and faculty members that would create outreach materials to widely disseminate to the public and to these student populations. Students, particularly college students, are already widely educated on the baseline understanding regarding climate change and are also very passionate and willing to get involved in environmental movements similar to that of the sanctuary. The campaign objectives include, like I said, engaging the university community and creating long-lasting involvement and educating students on the upcoming public comment period, which is a great opportunity for students and people outside the region to get involved in voicing their opinion for how the sanctuary is to be managed, which hopefully will be coming up around this late spring. As a result, I quickly got into work and I created these presentations that occurred out to about 50 students and faculty members across a number of different student groups. As I said, this include Environmental Sciences Club, Zero Waste Club, and other sort of groups like that. These presentations were quite lengthy and informative. They averaged about 50 minutes, and I had ample Q&A in which many of these students and faculty members were quite engaged with and asked very good questions to me. I also created flyers for public dissemination that I gave to the students to get involved. As you can see on the slide here, I have a couple of the flyers posted. And I also connected the Northern Streammass Tribal Council with some partners and community members within the university and university community so that they can carry forth that work past my fellowship. This included a leader of the sustainability community on campus at Cal Poly, and they've been able to meet up with the Northern Streammass Tribal Council. This campaign really taught me how to independently go forth and involve myself with ocean conservation and activism in a way that I hadn't done before. Obviously, I kind of stated before, I do have experience with climate conservation and action, but this really allowed me to sort of take on a really broad project by myself, and it taught me a lot in doing so. I have no experience with graphic design, and not to brag, but I'm pretty proud of these flyers. And I was also able to communicate about a subject that I was very passionate about. So overall, this campaign was very uplifting, and being able to work with the other fellows was a very enriching experience for myself. So I wanted to thank you, and I appreciate you sparing the time to allow me to share with you the work I did with the Streammass Heritage National Marine Sanctuary and the fellows in this OceanEcho 30x30 fellowship. Thank you. Hello, everybody.
Thanks so much, Kai. Thanks, Kai, for jumping on and joining us again.
Hello, everybody.
We're gonna see if I can get it past this. There we go. Thanks, Kai, for jumping on and joining us, and thanks for sharing your story and impact with us today. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Claudia Munoz-Colon from Puerto Rico to share more about her work as well. Claudia, take it away.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining today, taking up your time. I appreciate that a lot. So my name is Claudia Munoz-Colon, like Sean said. I am a 23-year-old coastal marine biology student at the University of Puerto Rico at Humacao, and I consider myself to be a very passionate person for the ocean and its conservation. That's why since a few years ago, I started searching for opportunities, and I came across Surfrider Foundation, was one of the organizations that opened doors for me, which I'm very thankful for. And here are some of the previous work I've done along with the organization Surfrider Foundation Puerto Rico. Some of these were giving workshops and speeches to the community and kids and people of all ages about coral reefs specifically, and talking about what's threatening them in Puerto Rico and how they can collaborate to help protect these ecosystems. And these are some pictures of the previous work that I've done. Planting some mangroves and native plants to help prevent erosion, and giving some speeches, as I said, to students as well. The bottom one is a speech that I gave to college students at the University of Puerto Rico at Aguadilla. Okay. So my campaign goals were my priority was to expand that MPA goal to help reach that 30 by 30 goal by protecting and creating a new marine protected area at Puerto Rico at the Aguadilla Bay, and to educate the community to get involved in these efforts, not only be the nonprofits and the people who do it, but to engage more people to get motivated, and to encourage as well young people towards environmental conservation. And in the bottom, we can see a picture of evident case that this is the reason why we have to protect this area. The left picture was taken 2016, and the right one was just 3 years later in the same area, and the Bay of Aguadilla, which is very concerning because this removal of vegetation is causing for that karstic sediments to percolate and get to the ocean, and it's affecting our ecosystems, our coral reefs, and therefore it's affecting the economy and everything related to tourism. So it's very important that we protect this area, not only to reach that 30 by 30 goal, but also to protect this area so that these things won't happen. So this is the area that's proposed to be the future MPA. The left picture, it's actually a design of part of the infographic that's being done. That was thanks to EarthEcho. And we are, here's the delimitation of the Bay of Aguadilla and the area that we want to make that marine protected area. It's around 20 nautic miles. And on the right is some of the reasons why we should protect it. So the Bay of Aguadilla is one of the main nesting areas for the brown pelican that's endangered. And it's home to a lot of coral reefs, healthy coral reefs. There's a picture of a coral reef that was taken at Aguadilla as well. And on the downside is our beautiful beach crash boat and Muelle de Azúcar, which is being impacted by these constructions. Here is some of my campaign actual work. So I wanted to focus not only on educating the community, but also giving the chance to fellow marine biology graduates to get some hands-on experience on this type of research work and scientific work. So here's some pictures of my group doing some dives on the site so that we could make an inventory of the coral reefs, the invertebrates, and every species that lives in that area, so that we can educate the community about, hey, these are the species that live here, and this is the species that we need to protect. And so we did that research. And also there's some pictures of the workshop that we had, the speech for the community. And they really loved it. And there's a picture in the bottom where I made a poster about why should we take care of the ocean, and gave the people the opportunity to engage and to write why they're passionate about the ocean and why we should take care of it. And the main reason for this speech was for people to learn more about coral reefs, and we got to get some samples of corals and to show people. And as well, we got some samples of sedimentation that were collected on that area so that people can see what's getting to the water. And yeah, we educated people in that activity. The impact is that over 6,000 people were reached through social media. That's just an estimate over Instagram and Facebook of Surfrider Foundation Puerto Rico. And over 50 people were attended this event to learn more about their ecosystems and how to protect them. About 60 people were directly impacted, including the students and graduates that helped me with the research. And the inventory was created successfully. And my favorite part is that people who followed Surfrider Foundation Puerto Rico, 2 people reached out because they wanted to help and were interested in the research that we were making and helping us collect more data. And another impact goal that's in the way is the creation of that educational infographic about the marine life. And I think that's it. And I'm very thankful. I'm proud of the work that me and my group did. I am really grateful to EarthEcho and Surfrider Foundation Puerto Rico, as well as Surfrider Foundation. And yeah, very grateful of this opportunity to learn so much.
Great. Thanks so much, Claudia. We're so grateful to you and all the fellows for your leadership and work on these campaigns. And I think this story really highlights, the stories you've heard so far really highlight how all of our fellows are working at really different stages of this work, from collecting the data on the front end for creating a brand new marine protected area to finishing public comment periods and helping with expansion campaigns. So it's really opened an opportunity for them to see kind of the different mechanisms and stages and opportunities to create ocean protections across the country. And continuing on that theme, I would love to pass it over to Destiny to share a little bit more about her work in Alaska, working to advance the Alagam Canoe National Marine Sanctuary proposal. So Destiny, I will turn it over to you.
Hi guys. So I'd like to introduce myself. Ang Kamala Mechem Na, Destiny Asachta Koking, Unangach Al Koking, St. Paul Island, Mila Akakoch. Hello, good afternoon. My name is Destiny and I am Unangach from St. Paul Island, Alaska. Currently, I am studying at the University of Alaska Southeast for Fisheries Management in Juneau, Alaska. And from the picture above that, you could see where the Pribilof Islands are located. I'm actually a fisheries intern with the Alii community of St. Paul Island, and I'm working on educating the people in my hometown on the importance of ocean conservancy. St. Paul is located in the middle of the Bering Sea, approximately 300 miles away from the nearest mainland. And the people of St. Paul are originally from the ocean chain and were brought up as slaves for the fur trade that lasted for over 2 centuries. As of today, St. Paul's population is around 300 people, and our people's connection to the marine resources in the Pribilof Islands predate historical records. The Bering Sea's bounty of diversity and richness has sustained the Unangan people through our region for millennia. And our land is St. Paul Island as Tanachamich, which means land of mother's brother. The Unangan on St. Paul and St. George are inextricably interconnected with the ocean and marine resources. But after Russian and US enslavement, our communities successfully developed commercial fisheries. The fishing activities today remain one of the foundational mainstays of our island's local economies. But being Unangach means that we are born from the long and enduring history of subsistence fishing, gathering intertidal invertebrates, and hunting marine mammals at sea. Therefore, our indigenous knowledge is essential to those that participate in the commercial fishery. The act of commercial fishing is viewed as a continuation of longstanding tradition of fishing before Western terms and management structures of subsistence and commercial were applied. Today, we are seeing changes that were predicted by many different Native communities around the world, whether it be from climate change or overfishing caused by industrial fisheries. These changes have actual costs to wildlife, human, and ecosystem health, local economies, and our culture. This is why it is important for the designation and comprehensive management approach centered on tribal co-governance, indigenous, traditional, and local knowledge, and equitable representation. We hope this nomination will lead to a new direction crucial for any national marine sanctuaries in our region. The establishment of Alagam Canoe will allow conservation actions to follow a tribal-led and ensure that tribal co-management is a central feature in the future of Pribilof Island's marine ecosystem. This nomination would empower our sovereign tribal government to achieve and implement equitable decision-making over the environmental, cultural, and economic resources central to our Indigenous community. This will better inform decision-making where Indigenous, tribal, and local knowledge is integrated, directly impacting our community and the ecosystem. Co-governance will reestablish the role of Indigenous people as stewards of the environment since time immemorial. And for my campaign, I held a 2-day camp where we gathered to talk about the changes that we wanted to see in our community. I based my camp on the idea of community engagement, and I believe that we need to start making decisions as a community and not as individual entities. I wanted to help my people in the community gain a better understanding as to why we need to designate a marine sanctuary. And Ologum Kanook will allow our people to have a say and a voice in the decisions that are made for the place that we live, not for the people that live thousands of miles away and don't see these problems on a frontline basis. But I'm sorry I couldn't get any pictures from my camp. I had trouble transferring stuff from my old laptop. But on the right side, you can see some pictures that I put in there. The cliffs are from Southwest Point, which is home to many of our seabirds that we still subsist for eggs and meat. The gathering picture on the left is from our annual seal harvesting, and that's the Homergon Day. It's the biggest day out of the seal harvesting because it is the last day, and we named it Homergon for the government boat that left that day. So it's kind of like a little holiday that we have for ourselves. But at the top, there's a seal, just to give you a picture of what they look like. And to the right would be us subsistence gathering seabird eggs. And I would like to thank you guys for all listening to my presentation about the nomination of Ologum Kanook in the Bering Sea.
Thank you so much, Destiny. So grateful. I'm going to keep saying for your leadership and the impact you've made in this work. And I think a theme that you touched on so well that so many of these campaigns have brought together is this theme of community building and trust building and bringing intergenerational audiences together like you did in your camp program and so many of our fellows have done across these regions in your campaign. So thank you so much for sharing. With that, we're going to share our last 2 stories of fellows. I'm going to share the story from Jude Latulamar, who's from the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands, who recorded this today due to his school schedule, but wanted to make sure to share this story with you all as well. So I'll pass it over to Jude.
Sorry if you can hear the chickens or the wind or rain or cars. I'm recording outside, so anyways, Tiro Mahafide, Iteng Julie Tulamar. That means hello, my name is Julie Tulamar in the 2 main languages here in Saipan, which is Chamorro and Rafaloash. If you don't know what Saipan is, it is an island located in the Sinamai, which is the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands, which is located just north of Guam in the Pacific Ocean. So yeah, that's where I live, and I'm a fellow for OceanEcho 30 by 30, and I'm excited to share to you guys my campaign. So what made me want to become a fellow was that the summer beforehand, before the fellowship was introduced, I got to attend the Native Youth Climate Adaptation and Leadership Congress, NICAUC, and it is basically a collection of Indigenous students from different parts of the nation, like American Samoa, the Sinamai, California, Alaska, all those indigenous places, and they're brought to West Virginia, and we talk about how can indigenous knowledge work with Western science to create a more sustainable living. So I guess that's what really opened my eyes to a greener future, a more sustainable future, and made me want to learn more about the environment and work towards, making the environment better and more livable. So my other work was that I was an intern for the Office of Representative Sheila Babauta here in the Sinamai, and I was an ambassador for Inafa Malik Youth, which is a local club, which is, a local club. And my current work is that I'm an intern at Friends of the Marianas Trench, and I'm currently applying for other internships, so wish me luck. Before the campaign, it was definitely a lot of planning. I worked with Friends of the Marianas Trench, which is my main partner, and their mission was sustainability through indigenous methods, which is really like full circle. I think, I don't know, I just love to think about that. Friends of the Marianas Trench, Representative Sheila Bata, and other student leaders and my friends, I got to talk to them because planning alone was definitely very, very hard, because there's so many different places to go and things to do when planning a campaign. So, you know, I definitely needed focus, and I guess talking with other people, it allowed me to focus better. So these are a few action shots of what I did. I was staying up all night making a calendar. I was meeting at offices, at cafes, and I was even working at my school. So during the fellowship, I'm still a senior, but you know, during the time of the fellowship, it was the beginning of my senior year. So I had to learn how to process both at the same time, and which I think I did a great job. And as you can see that there's one picture of me drawing. Yeah, that's me in my art class, and I was drawing my logo for my campaign. So that was definitely great. And next week, or during the campaign, so I decided that, you know, I want my campaign to be a digital campaign, and it was basically where I inform others about, you know, fun facts about the Marianas Trench Marine National Monument and marine protected areas, both which are important here in the CNMI and for the 30 by 30 project. So I wanted to really shine in on those two things, especially because they're hardly ever talked about in the youth here in the CNMI. So my target audience was the people from my school, Kangman High School, because what better place to do it than a place that I go to every day. So I served 59 students from all 4 grades of high school, and it basically showed that, you know, my suspicions were right, and that not many people knew about the Marianas Trench Marine National Monument, or not many people knew about the importance of marine protected areas. So I definitely wanted to start here, and I reached my campaign was posting through social media every day from the start of December to, I guess, the end of January. And I posted a fun fact of each thing, marine protected areas and Marianas Trench, every day for, yeah, I'm not sure. And I got the help of my principal to post on the Kangman High School Instagram page, which is great. And we also got CNMI PSS, the Commonwealth of Northern Mariana Islands public school system, to share one of our posts. So that was a huge highlight. And I posted flyers around my school as well, just, you know, to have a little physical and social aspect to the campaign. So next, at the end of the campaign, I definitely wanted to have a more engaging and a more intimate presentation, or a more intimate way of communicating with others. So I planned I guess, meetup, and I called about 17 high school students to participate, and we had presentations from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife, Miss Jihan, who actually works a lot with the Marianas Trench, which is great. I definitely learned a lot of new things from her. I didn't know that there was blue mud in the Marianas Trench until I heard the presentation from her. So it was definitely a great learning experience. And I also had another presentation from the Friends of the Marianas Trench, basically talking about MPAs and stuff of that sort. So it was fun, and throughout the whole meetup, there was a lot of questions. There seemed like a lot of people were interested, and I was just glad to share such a huge such a huge experience, and you know, it was a great one. So yeah, that's my campaign. If there's any questions, you can email me at judeelitulumar@gmail.com. Thank you again. My name is Julie Tulamar. Have a nice day, and hope to see you guys later.
Okay, well, thanks so much to Jude and to the Friends of Mariana Trench as well for the leadership and engagement on this work. We're so grateful. And with that, I'm gonna maybe make the video stop playing again. Here we go. I'm gonna pass it over to Jude's neighbor, over to Hasty to tell us and kind of round things out. We started with Pacific Rhode Islands. We'll wrap up with the other side of the Pacific Rhode Islands work. So excited, Hasty, for you to share more about your campaign. So I will turn it over to you.
Thank you. Half a day. Good morning. It's approaching 7 a.m. here. Half a day. Good morning, everyone. My name is Hasty San Jose. I'm 22 years old. I am born and raised here in the village of Jigo on the island of Guam. And as Jude said in his presentation, we do neighbor Saipan. I have a bachelor's degree in communication and media. So my line of work consists of film, videography, photography, and editing. So work like this is not what I do professionally. Beforehand,
Put your slides
I
up real quick. 1 second. Sorry, lost part of the screen there. Hold on 1 second.
It's okay. Okay, while that's going up. Before this, I was participating in protests, photographing them, local issues, but it wasn't my professional line of work. Right before joining OceanEcho, I was actually in the Kulo program with Micronesia Climate Change Alliance, and we were working on highlighting local issues through digital storytelling. So that would combine my professional line of work with doing work for local issues, which was something that I was passionate about. They actually sent over the application for OceanEcho to us, and I was like, oh, I'll take a shot at this. And that's how I ended up here. So that's what I'm doing now in OceanEcho. The slides aren't back yet. I will just continue.
Almost there. Almost there. I see it's coming. Hold on 1 second.
Okay. I'm actually partnered with Bronwyn, working with the PRI Coalition on protecting the Pacific Remote Islands Marine National Monument. That's something that's not often talked about here on the island. Since it's so far out and very far from Guam, a lot of people actually don't know it's even in existence or that there's any issues with it. So there was the big issue of not only spreading awareness, but building a connection here between the Chamorro people and the monument, as it's very important because the ocean here to the Chamorro people goes back so far as voyaging and comes back to the present in our resourcing. And it's something that's still very important today. So not only building that connection between Chamorro people, but Pacific Islanders as a whole was very important within this campaign. This slide.
So give us 1 second. We're trying to pull back up here. Give me 1 second here. Sorry about that.
Okay. I will look at it as I speak. Okay. So when talking to local partners, they really encouraged me to go for community youth, especially those still in school, as, oh, there you go. As it is so much harder for community youth to get engaged in stuff like this, especially if they're shielded from it, or if it's just so far off for them, or something like made for adults. So contacting community youth was really important, and especially getting into them through schools and educational systems where it's more formal and I can get to them as a whole. Next slide, please. Okay, so this campaign came in what I would like to call waves. The initial goal was to have 2 representatives from each public high school and have 2 to 3 weeks of painting and interviews. Originally, it was supposed to be a large mural painting outside, but for concern of students and their safety, we switched to an alternative, which was doing 6 large piece canvases, and when they're put together, they're like one whole picture. And we thought that was a great alternative to do, so that's what we went with. In terms of contacting the students, it was a little hard, like getting to each club, finding the right kind of students. We turned out with 7 student representatives, which was still a great number. 2 days of painting instead of 2 to 3 weeks, and doing a social media train of them posting. So it's like, oh, hey, what is this? Why is it so important? Why are they all posting? How can we get involved? And then this whole painting that they're going to do would be put up in the Guam Museum for an exhibit along with submissions from public school students. Guam Green Growth actually provided space for us to do the painting with contacts from MCCA, and Guam Coral Reef Initiative actually helped with providing goodies for students who submitted art, as well as contacting the schools. Next slide. All right, so the current. There were 2 weeks for students to submit work, and it would be within the themes of like marine life, oceanic history, something where they could add a connection they feel was personal to them, as well as personal to their culture. So that was a great opportunity for students to provide their insight and perspective on it. We did the social media train as well. I had all of these posts up on my personal page. I didn't have a page for the campaign itself, but I put it all on my personal page and had students reposting it, making their own posts and sharing it on their stories, which was a great way for people to be like, hey, what is this? And when is it happening? That picture right there is the finished design of the actual painting. You'll see it in like the next slides, but there were also QR codes for people to scan so that even if they couldn't make it to the exhibit itself, they could participate through signing a petition or looking at the website or using any of these links as well. We actually had a turnout of 60 submissions, which was a great response considering the 2-week period, which I felt was very short. We managed to reach a lot of schools, had a lot of teachers participate, helping students, which was really, really great for public participation as well. Next slide. And then the final wave. So the museum exhibit was supposed to be up for 1 week. They changed it to the whole month of February. And I thought that was really, really great because how are students all going to see this in 1 week? So the whole month of February was really great. However, the museum hours were during the weekday. The museum's now open during the weekend. So it was harder for students and teachers to come in and see. So we had a closing reception where it was outside of regular hours and they could come and see it on the weekend, bring friends, family, whoever wants to see it. There was also a signage board so that they can pledge to the 30 by 30 initiative. It was empty at first, and then when it came back, it was filled, and that was really, really great to see. One minute. Sorry. Anyways, and even though like I wasn't there to see people come in day by day to see the exhibit, when I was there, people were asking questions. I saw some people sit down. We had printed out pamphlets as well. They sat down to read the pamphlets. People would come up and be like, oh, what is this? And I thought that really hit the nail of what the goal was, which was to spread awareness, catching people's attention and really having people engaged in it, even if they knew absolutely nothing about it. The reach was actually, this was only from my account. I had a reach of 224. This was including Instagram posts on my profile, as well as my stories, as well as the QR code scans, because we were able to track those, and website link shares. This doesn't include shares from like other students who participated, friends who shared it. Even the museum actually posted it on their page, and I didn't account for that. And I assume that's going to be a larger reach as well as other social media sites. Someone told me they saw it on Facebook, and I don't have Facebook. So I was a little shocked. I was like, oh, it's on Facebook too. And I thought that was great. The workshop was a great reach as well. During the workshop, I did tell the students, I showed them the websites, I informed them on the topic just so they know more about it. And a lot of those students were very passionate about climate change. They're in a couple of those clubs at school as well, and artistic on the side. So it was a good combination for the workshop. Some of the students who submitted artwork actually did it with service learning hours as well, even though it was not required. A lot of them did background research on the topics, on this topic particularly. They did a lot of pre-planning. And I thought that was a really great addition. I know some teachers had asked me how to prep the students, but it wasn't required for them to submit art. They did it willingly, and you could really tell through their artwork that there was a lot of thought going into it. And I thought that was so beautiful to see. Next slide. Okay, and then the last part, the ripple. So with all big waves, there comes like the aftermath of it. A lot of people were asking me, is this a yearly thing? Is it gonna happen again? I said, oh, I'll have to let you know, which speaks to me about the reach that this campaign really had. It was a first for a lot of people. I haven't seen something like this in a while, where students got to engage so thoroughly into an issue where there isn't a give and take, it's only a give on both sides. And it was really great. And this was like a first for me as well. I've never hosted an art exhibit, never done work this large of a campaign. And it was really refreshing to work in groups of people who not were only working for the same goal, but we were all still learning in the process and willing to do so. And that was a great impact that being in the fellowship had for me, as well as working with all these students and teachers. There's a picture of me preparing their goods because I felt so grateful for that turnout and that response. And yeah, there was a lot of learning, and like just like here in this call, I'm so grateful for the opportunity to keep learning and to keep sharing with other people working towards the same goal. So thank you for your time, Suzumasi.
Thank you so much, Casey. Thanks for closing us out, and thanks for your great leadership and incredible work to bring this to life in your community. We're so grateful for your work and the work of all of our fellows. Thank you so much for sharing your stories, your lessons learned, your reflections, your impact, and a big thanks to all of you for joining us and for listening to this conversation today. I do want to highlight one quick kind of action opportunity. We're going to drop some links in the chat here as well, but we're excited to continue to share the stories and impact from this work. We're so grateful to all of our fellows for building these campaigns, for driving this impact on marine protected areas. We're going to drop a few links in the chat, so we'd love for your help in amplifying these campaigns, these stories on social media. So look in the chat for some links where you can find highlight stories, as well as follow at EarthEcho on Instagram to see both a feature today, as well as features on individual campaigns over the next week. Also wanted to flag that all of these fellows are connected through Gen C, our global youth network and community platform at EarthEcho. So encourage you, if you have young people in your networks and communities, you can sign up to join them in that platform over at joingenc.org, and also stay tuned where our 2023 EarthEcho Youth Leadership Council applications will open this coming Saturday. And then one really exciting thing I want to share, and we'll also send this to the NOPC listserv, is we're excited to hear from you, all of the organizations on this call, about opportunities to grow and scale this work together. So we've got a brief survey that we're dropping into the chat. Would love for you and your organization to complete this. Give us some feedback on what are existing youth opportunities in your networks that you'd like to share and push out to a wider audience of young people. And two, what levels of interest do you have in building on programs like this OceanEcho 30 by 30 fellowship? How can we continue to collaborate to scale this style of work in new regions and new communities across the country? And with that, I want to say a big thank you to NOPC, to all of our fellows and the incredible partners that help bring this work to life and make this possible. And again, a big thanks to all of you for joining us today. And I'll pass it back to Erin for
Thank you so much, Sean, and thank you so much to each and every one of our youth fellows who joined and shared just like such inspiring campaigns. It's so cool to see such huge impact and just like learn from you all. So unfortunately, we don't have much time for questions or discussion, but would love to hear from anyone. If there are questions, feel free to pass them along either to myself or to Sean, or directly with our youth fellows who shared their contact information. And just again, just want to express a huge thank you from NOPC and from our coalition partners. These incredible youth campaigns were just like such a fantastic thing to follow along and see sort of the way that a lot of these marine protected area campaigns and 30 by 30 can be lifted up and amplified with amazing youth leadership. So thank you so much to EarthEcho International. You guys are amazing, and just really grateful for this opportunity. Thanks for everyone who joined, and we'll see you soon. Thanks all.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good one. And I see comments in the chat. We'll get that form tweaked.